the decision making in what is one of the most significant markets for Netflix in India.
Okay.
The development, content, creation, licensing, acquisition, Monika is the go-to person for it. Please extend a warm welcome to Monika Shergill. So Monika, before I chew your brains on sharing the creative roadmap for Netflix, I first want to take you back a little bit. And you started out as a journalist. You were sitting in my seat actually. Then you did a bunch of documentaries. You were part of Star, where you were part of an instrumental show called Satyamev Jayate. You helped Viacom set up its digital vertical. How much has that journey been instrumental in where you are today, in the seat that you occupy today?
First and foremost, thank you, Suhani, for all your kind words, and thank you, everyone, for taking time out. It's, a very, good afternoon to all of you. To the question, Suhani, I think everything I've done along the way, across the last 2.5 decades of my career, has prepared me perhaps for the Netflix role. But then again, nothing can prepare you for this job. And that's true, that's 100% true. Because the streaming industry is new. We are in very early stages. There is, audiences are discovering this new medium. As Netflix, we've been pioneers in this industry through, taking content to people at their convenience, on a device of their choice, and content comes to you, in your own time and space, and yet there is so much to learn every day because there are such tremendous shifts happening across the industry, and the opening of new markets is actually leading to a lot of learning, even for streaming services Netflix, which has so much sort of experience behind it and so many years globally. I think we are learning every day, and that in itself is a very big gift.
Yeah, when Netflix came, it was a but obvious decision to come here. It's one of the most prolific industries, most diverse industries, the Indian entertainment industry. So I wanted to ask you that, given the potential of storytelling and the number of creators, technicians that we have here, do you think streaming is doing enough in unlocking that potential, in tapping into that potential? How do you see 5 years later, how do you think streaming is doing in ensuring that we are making the most of that?
I think I can very, unequivocally say that streaming is doing a tremendous job of unlocking new talent. In fact, if I were to say there is a not so quiet revolution happening where a very large talent pool is actually being pulled into the industry. There is expansion happening of all formats of storytelling, genres of storytelling. If you just dial back, just rewind 4 or 5 years, where were we? We've had a whole lot of talent, very good talent in television. We've had good talent in cinema. But it's not like the pool of talent was dramatically expanding, whether off-screen or on-screen. And you just look at the revolution which has happened in the last 3 or 4 odd years. There is a higher demand than supply, and that is actually ensuring that at all times, as streaming platforms, we are very hungry. We are hungry for talent. We are constantly looking for new voices. We are working with a lot of seasoned creators, but we are constantly looking for new voices in every stream of content creation. And just as our service, I would say, and I actually speak on the behalf of the whole industry, that fundamentally streaming is has put that flywheel into play, where there is constant search for new talent, and as Netflix, we've been at the forefront of it with the so many productions that we've run. In India, we've had so many productions. You yourself said we are actually a service that guzzles talent, if I can use that word. We are constantly looking, because we have so many titles and so many formats coming out across original films. We were the first ones to start programming original films when no one was even thinking about it. Straight to service films. We have documentaries, reality shows, scripted, and globally, I would say, we operate at an unprecedented scale. So there are, you know, sort of, I can't, hundreds of thousands of crews that are working. The number of productions Netflix runs across the world, in languages, across countries, is so massive that all of that is really coming from expanding the talent pool and really nurturing and working with the creative community.
Yeah, I think a lot of film studios now complain that actors and technicians and directors don't have dates, and I think streaming platforms are a large reason for that. But you know, Monica, yes, Netflix is doing all the work it's doing, but I think there is also a perception that the content that you create is perhaps a little bit too niche. Maybe it appeals to a certain section of audience, maybe just the metros, maybe just the 5%. You've come in 2019, you're trying to change that perception, commissioning shows which go beyond a certain demographic, a geography. Do you still think Netflix is too niche vis-a-vis your competitors?
Actually, you're right when you use the word niche, but that was so 2019, I would say. We have been on a journey to expand and broaden our audience, the kind of stories that we tell, the kind of hits that we deliver, whether you talk about an Alia Bhatt's debut on the service Inner Darlings, you talk about Neeraj Pandey's Khaki, which has been on the service in the top 10 for a consistent 18 weeks. Rana Naidu, which became the first pan-India hit and broke the playbook of, you know, there's a certain playbook where you have a South actor and a Bollywood actor and they form the leads. Actually, we broke that playbook very intentionally, very consciously, and got two South actors and an ensemble of wonderful Hindi actors to actually become a pan-India hit. When you, within 3 days of its debut, it was actually, it broke into the global top 10 non-English list. So when we look at content like that, when we look at content like The Romantics, you know, Hansal Mehta's Scoop that's coming, when, you know, a story like Kathal, which is a heartland story, and when you look at films like RRR and Gangubai and Bhool Bhulaiya 2, and just across genres and, you know, formats, we are really on a journey to program for a very broad set of audience, increasing access, increasing really our footprint, and we've had tremendous momentum. We are the fastest growing market for Netflix in the world, and all of those you know, details I think have been around. So with that kind of momentum and engagement increasing 30%, which is really tremendous and doesn't really, I mean, if you look at the metrics, since we are on the other side of them, we know that delivering those kind of engagement numbers is absolutely tremendous and actually groundbreaking. And that talks to how broad the content is and who it is appealing to.
So when you came, obviously you were one of the few players. Now there are some 35 plus streaming platforms, some language specific ones. I'll be honest, I'm spoiled for choice and I can't keep up. It's impossible to watch the deluge of content that's coming out. So I wanted to understand, how does one stand out from the clutter? What do you do to make sure that your show gets watched? It's not as simple as putting up a giant hoarding in Juhu, right? There needs to be something more to do. What does one do to stand out?
Yeah, it's a very tough thing to be able to stand out with so much content which is coming out across services. And I think before actually I answer that, I think we are at a very early stage of streaming. So there is a lot of, more than the streamers, I think everyone asking questions and being on the other side is very nervous about this perceived competition and so many services out there. I think we should just take a minute and celebrate that there are so many platforms. This is a growing industry. These are the early stages. Please, let's just take a minute. Let's not be hard on ourselves. And let's enjoy the fact that the ecosystem is expanding. Audiences are adopting a very new medium of consumption, right? And so many new kinds of stories are coming. And I think we should welcome that. We should welcome that there are many players. There will be a time, a few years down the line, I can't do crystal ball gazing, maybe it's 3 years, 5 years, I don't know. But currently where we are sitting, I think it's important to acknowledge that this is a growth phase, right? And we should celebrate that growth phase. And where standing out is concerned, I think there is one and only one way to stand out. It is with the stories we tell. You can do any amount of marketing. I say that so much in my sort of conversations with my teams internally that, and I'm a big fan of marketing, by the way, but I say that marketing can actually make a good story, a good show, a good film, great. It can make it reach a larger set of audiences. But if your content is not good, if your story is not relevant for the audience, or it's not entertaining them, it's not engaging them, it's not delivering them surprise, then no amount of marketing, putting billboards, or shouting from rooftops is going to help. So literally it is how much excellence do we deliver in the stories, and how important and urgent are those stories for our audiences.
So clearly Monika is happy that more and more players are coming into the streaming world. So one of them is Geo. Geo is joining the party now. And we know that they have a lot of Mola as well. So they announced a chunky Indian slate, and they recently announced that they will be the platform for showcasing of HBO content. When you hear an announcement like that, Monika, do you get sleepless nights? Because I know a lot of people, when HBO content went off from Disney, people are like, hey, but now why do we subscribe to this? IPL is not there, this is not there. So what does Monika Shergill do when she hears an announcement like, oops, HBO content is now going to Geo? What do I do now?
I love watching HBO content. We've all loved Game of Thrones and Succession, and it's a hat tip to the wonderful storytelling that they do. But it doesn't make me nervous one bit. And I'll tell you why. The kind of width and breadth of programming that Netflix does the world over, from every conceivable market, in as many languages as possible, the kind of global cultural moments that we are able to drive, I think that's unmatched. It was so unheard of till a couple of years that there could be a show like Squid Game. Absolutely unheard of. That it would become a global phenomenon so fast, so quickly, and in such a defining way. And if I just look at today, just 2 weeks ago we dropped The Diplomat. It is already trending in the top 10 in 84 countries. That is the kind of reach that Netflix has, the global distribution scale that we have, that every story that a creator from India makes, or a creator from Korea makes, or Spain makes, or US makes, can actually just become a phenomenon. The same thing has happened if I were to just look closer home. RRR has been a phenomenon because of, it's a brilliant film, I love it, and we just knew when it was coming on the service that what we could do with it and what the film can do for itself on a platform like Gangubai for that matter. And Elephant Whisperers, the Oscar win, that a small story shot in the Mudumalai forest, of this couple can actually really make everyone sit up and look at the, bond between humans and animals. And as recent as Chor Nikal Ke Bhaga, a new director, Ajay Singh, Siraj Ahmed, the writer, and Dinu as the producer, absolutely amazed that, in less than a week, the film was trending in the top 10 across 62 countries. That's the power and the breadth and the velocity and scale of what Netflix brings in bringing content from all over the world to India and taking Indian content across India and across the world.
So you're mentioning top 10 a lot. I think there's something we need to discuss here. A lot of us want to know that what are the metrics for a success for a streaming show or film? How do you define that this has worked? There are no box office, there are no TRPs. So what for you as someone, as Netflix has been in the game for so long, How do you define the success of a show?
Suhani, you don't know what you've asked me. I can talk about this for hours. It is my pet peeve. Because everyone is so quick to declare success today, like there's a victory stand, and you know, this is the most watched all time of greatest hit, and 10 most, 5 most. Every day you go on social, and there is some, declaration and multiple listicles and lists and a lot. I just want to say that a lot of content is being watched. Indians are amongst, the most sort of
Too
high
much time on our
consumers
hands.
of content. No, I don't think we have too much. I think we are stuck in traffic. We love our entertainment, and we just can't have enough of it. And there are lesser opportunities for other entertainment things to do, and we need to exercise, which we don't. So, but the success metrics, I think, are a very, very important thing that the industry needs to look at as a whole. I feel that from a streaming perspective, there is no methodology currently. Everyone thinks that just having a huge number of subscribers is a success metrics. So a lot of the services are bundling. Most of the subs that you see, subscriber base, comes through telco bundling, right? Where you have a whole lot of people who are in the telco plans, and they're discounted and subsidized. But how many people activate their accounts? What is the engagement? The truest metrics of success. And I think as it's early days for the industry, but I think it's not as early also to actually become responsible in terms of what model of streaming are we building, what kind of a healthy industry are we building. A healthy streaming business will be a business where you're high on engagement, you're looking at revenue because you have to create and you have to put that revenue back into the creator's pool. How will you grow the talent? How will you do the best in class, world class entertainment? And how will you, and you have to have profitability on the day. Because as companies, any company globally, it is so important if you're running a healthy business model to look at all these 3 fundamentals of success. And not, race to the bottom. That race to the bottom can only be sustained if your core business is not entertainment and it's a side business for you, or it's a value add for you. But if you want to be a content company, an entertainment company that is delivering the best in the world, locally and globally, you have to start thinking of sustainability. And I was just outside talking about the new EMY report that has come, and there is a conversation around what models are being pursued and how many will sustain. So as Netflix, we are very clear that we want to run a sustainable streaming model, and we want to be in business in a way where we declare profits, in our earnings calls of $5 to $6 billion, and most of our competitors world over are actually losing $10 to $11 billion collectively, and that is not the way to run a good streaming business.
You think we can do better in terms of measuring success, right? The metrics can be a little more transparent. I mean, do you follow the reports when people say these were the top 5 most watched shows this week, or top 5 most films? Do you follow that? Does that?
I look at them, and I don't believe most of it, because if you just look at the fine print of all these, the short-term sort of reports and lists that come, the methodology is highly questionable. It's not audited, it's not thought through, and it is highly questionable. And there is just a perception created. I also want to say something very controversial, if I may, that a lot of the most talked about things are sometimes not the most highly watched, and the reverse is also true. There's a lot of content, and that is the medium that streaming is. A lot of people watch and prefer their personal watch, and do not go on social and talk about it. Another thing which we are observing is that critics couldn't be further away from what the audiences are liking. Audiences have a pulpit now. They tell when they like something, and many of them watch and talk, and many of them watch and maybe don't talk about it. But we are seeing, that is why we have transparent lists like the top 10 every day on the service. Every week on Tuesdays, we bring out the global lists, we share the view hours. In fact, we believe in being one of the most transparent companies where data is concerned, as much as we can share, because we are learning from everyone. We are learning from the audiences, and it helps to share, to tell people. And that's how we are going to learn and evolve and become a more mature service, a more mature industry.
You know, one thing streaming platforms have done is that it has erased all geographical and linguistic boundaries, right? I'm watching K-dramas, Mexican, Spanish shows. I wanted to know, as someone who's now with Netflix, is our content resonating abroad, globally? Alia was mentioning the other day to me that how she suddenly, when Gangubai dropped on Netflix, her Instagram following just spiked because there were people from Thailand, Indonesia following her. We've seen how RRR in Hindi has been watched a lot. Is that happening? Are people watching Indian shows, Indian films, Netflix subscribers?
It's a very interesting phenomenon that's unfolding. Something is really bubbling up, and we are seeing it. It's almost like, it's very exciting for us to see when a title comes. It's almost like a heat map that we see when it starts sort of traveling across. And really, I think it's a testament to what streaming as an industry is doing. And Netflix is at the forefront of it because of, like I mentioned, our global distribution scale and also our subbing and dubbing efforts. We sub and dub in nearly 37 languages at very, very high quality. Our product is able to give recommendations and have personalization in a way that it really makes the storytellers, the creators' stories travel across the world. They are taken to people, who are lovers of that genre, who are interested in trying anything that becomes big in the home country. And I actually want to double click on that. Anything which you see becoming a global hit or traveling a lot more globally has to be a hit locally first. So when it starts working for the local audience, when more and more people watch, it really sets off a virtuous cycle of it being served to, like Chor Nikal Ke Bhaga, like it has been in the top 10 in so many LATAM countries. Khaki, Rana, Darlings. Darlings was one of our biggest openings of a non-English film, a Hindi title. And, RRR, Gangu, as I said, and many titles, Romantics, how it's worked across the world, Trial by Fire. So I feel that there is a sort of, it's a moment in time. We are seeing that shift happening. And like I said, we are perhaps at the forefront of it. And I think more and more, we've always been saying that streaming as an industry is meant to be borderless entertainment. It is meant to bring cultures together. It's meant to make global stars out of local stars. It's meant to take the creators' voices far and wide. And we look at it very responsibly. For me and my team, the most exciting thing, the most gooseflesh-inducing thing is to be able to take our Indian storytellers to all parts of the world.
I think, Monica, that we really need to know, when does Netflix India make a global sensation like Squid Game or The Crown or Stranger Things or Narcos? When do we become the market that delivers that big thing?
I think we are on a journey. Premium storytelling is very new to India. Most other markets have been very mature in that space. Some have been doing it for decades, some have been doing it for years. So I think the wheels have already started turning. And every title is becoming big in India, becoming bigger across the globe. It is already, happening. And I think that one way to look at it is to look behind and say, oh, this kind of a hit, that kind of hit. I think every hit tells us something new. No one knew that a Korean market could deliver a Squid Game, right? no one knew that the Spanish market could deliver a money heist, which is actually being watched in local languages, literally in villages in India also. No one knew that RRR would become such a big phenomenon. No one knew that a Delhi crime, which is the story, such a moving, story of Nirbhaya, would actually win an international Emmy, or that Elephant Whisperers like Bowman and Belly and Raghu and Amu would be on everyone's in everyone's conversation in Hollywood, in all the rooms at the Oscars, right? So that is what has begun happening, and we have a lot of titles coming up. We are very excited about many titles. There's Archie's, there's Hira Mandi, I'm very excited about a lot of titles coming. Hansal's coming, Guns and Gulabs.
This is Monika's favorite thing to do, to talk about her future slate, and she keeps doing it year after year with much enthusiasm. We don't have much time left, but I'm going to run through quick questions.
Suhani, we want to catch up separately. I'll give you another one.
Yes, please do. But before I go to my rapid fire, I'm going to ask, I think this is something Netflix is a little bit of a latecomer into, which is regional. Diversifying into programming in other languages. Minal Murli continues to be one of my favorite Netflix films. You recently renewed Rana Naidu. Is that where you head next now, Monika? Is going into those four robust industries in Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala? Is that where Netflix heads next in terms of original programming?
You're right, Suhani. We've been on a journey, and we have taken some time to start programming in the South languages. But when Netflix starts something, then we just double down on it. So this year, in January, we announced a very massive slate of cinema across Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, and some of the biggest films are coming on Netflix. We've announced them. In fact, the reactions were really amazing to that when all those announcements came on social. We are very proud to be working with those creators, having their stories coming, the talent, etc. And we are also working very hard on our original slate in the South languages. And let me just say, we are working very hard to please the largest set of audience in Hindi and across languages. And that's what we do day and night as fans of entertainment, and we want to just, keep finding the next best story. And more audiences are becoming language agnostic. International languages, local languages. It is actually becoming a very exciting sort of melting pot of storytelling, of story watching, and I think that's the excitement that we just want to keep propelling.
So we're going to conclude with, I convinced Monika backstage to do a rapid fire, because I was like, Monika, we have to do this. So I think there must be a couple of creators here. So first thing I want to ask is, what are the 3 musts that Monika wants to hear in a pitch? 3 things that you need to hear or need to have. Yeah.
So how exciting, important and urgent a story is. That's very important. Like for the audience, not for the Netflix team. We really try to wear the hat of the audience. We are also audience, but we don't do groupthink. We really want to tell the next best story for the audience. That's very important, the idea. The passion and vision of the creators is very important. How clear are they? How passionate are they about creating a world? Because streaming is about creating a world. You don't get second chances. You don't, unlike a linear television or a film format is like a bullet that you fired, and it doesn't need to come back into a renewal format unless now everyone's starting to program franchise films also. But a film is an event, right? But when you're creating a world of characters in a very intense, immersive, long format and yet seasonal space, then what is the world you're creating? What is the passion and vision of the creator? And the third thing I think, which is also very important for us, is that how we as a platform are going to be able to do justice to that story. It's very important that stories sit on the right platform, and how are we going to be able to enable the creator's vision? Where can we take it? And how can we please our audiences and surprise them with this most amazing next idea?
Okay, the next one have to be rapid, huh? A word that's much, a word that's much abused in your meetings. Like I remember for the longest time when I would interview people, content, I would tire of that word. Is there a word that you sort of had enough of?
Alignment.
Alignment.
Yeah. Alignment is something, because in all of the global companies, the tech companies and the ones like us who sit at the cusp of tech, tech companies and content creation like Hollywood, etc., and many other entertainment markets, we are all very matrixed and function-driven, and everyone, when you have to operate at that scale, unlike the traditional company, sorry, I'm again explaining alignment. Okay, let's just do a full stop. Anyone who wants to understand, catch me offline.
A major misconception about Netflix that you'd like to bust?
One is what you asked earlier. I busted that. We are not niche, we are very broad. The fresh one here would be, what's the brief? We do not give briefs. We love stories. Please come and pitch us stories. Do not ask for a brief. We don't operate on briefs.
The last film you saw in a cinema?
Pathan.
Nice. Not on Amazon Prime, but in a cinema.
Cinema. Please, you have to watch that film on it.
And lastly, how many platforms does Monika Shergill subscribe to?
Many. I love content, and I love to watch everyone's content. We learn something new every day, so I watch my own stuff. As
Follow competition? Yeah.
We have to also catch up with what we as a service do globally. There's so much to learn there and catch up with. And of course, everything in our market and what stuff that's trending, talking about, or just for downtime.
Great. Thank you so much, Monika. Here's wishing to more subscribers, more engaging, compelling, and fun storytelling, and more happy viewing for us. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us.
Thank you so much.